All right, so for this first assessment, what we're gonna look at is dorsiflexion of the ankle. So you're gonna need a ruler or a tape measure or something that measures inches, and you want to, you need 5 inches worth essentially. So you're gonna have your athletes start with the tip of their toe, so their big toe in line with the 5-inch mark is what we have here. Have them kneel down on their other foot. From here, they're gonna try to press their knee forward and touch the wall. So as you can see here, he cannot quite get there. He's pretty close, but can't quite get there without his heel popping up. That's a big thing. We want the whole foot to stay flat on the ground. So he would move forward to his toes in line with the 4. Try it again, and we're successful there. So with your athletes, you would have them, if you couldn't get 4, we'd go up to 3 until we do get a successful attempt. However, a 5 is a passing score on this, and we would want to make sure that we do both knees to see any bilateral differences. So this test is called the Faber test, and we're going to look at the hips specifically, but also the hip flexors. That's where this test is really going to target. So what you're going to have your client do, you're going to have them lay flat on their back, and we'll take, we're going to have them bring their leg up. So you're going to bring your leg up and place the knee directly, or place the foot, excuse me, directly above the knee. From here, you want to have your hand on their ASIS just to eliminate any rotation coming from this side. And we're going to press down on this knee and see how far the client can get. A passing score with this, he's pretty close, or maybe right there. We want to see the bent knee in line with the knee that's lying on the ground. He, like I said, is maybe a little bit above passing, which tells us that in this right hip here, we have some tight hip flexors. For this next assessment, again, we're going to be looking at the hips, and we are going to specifically look at internal and external rotation. So you're going to have, again, your client lie flat on their back, and they're going to bring their foot or their leg up in the air. We want their knee in line with their hip and their foot in line with their knee, so that we're at a good 90-degree angle. From here, you don't want the client doing any of the work. You're going to brace their leg and internally rotate as far as, or externally rotate, excuse me, as far as we can get there. You want to note the amount of tension and pressure it takes to get them to that point. I'm going to bring them back to center. Then we'll do the same thing coming back out. We're going to externally rotate as far as he can get there, or internally rotate, excuse me. This is internal rotation. We want to see as far as he can get. He does not have very much hip internal rotation. There's a lot of tension right here. We'll bring it back, bring it down. You want to do both sides again on that, and note the amount of pressure that's required in order to get them in that position. For this next assessment, we're going to be looking at shoulder internal rotation. So this is the sleeper stretch. You're going to have your client lying on their side on the ground. We want to make sure that they are in line with the ground, so, or square to the ground, excuse me. So not rolled back too far, not rolled forward too far on that shoulder. We also then want to have the arm that's on the bottom of their body, the one that's in contact with the ground. We're going to have that outstretched in line, their hand in line with their shoulders. We want to make sure there's a 90-degree angle there. From here, you're going to have your client go ahead and raise their hand up, so bend their elbow, and then we're just going to have him try to reach the ground. So press his arm down to the ground. Yeah, good, making sure we keep that elbow in line. We can bring that other hand along to get a little bit of extra stretch. We want to take note of the angle here. So 60 degrees is a passing angle. So he's there or just beyond it. The next assessment we're going to do is going to, again, look at scapulothoracic mobility. So you're going to have your client up against the wall. They're going to sink down into a wall sit. So we want to be good 90 degrees there. Arms are going to be down to the side with our thumbs pointing up. From here, all he's going to do is simply raise his arms up and try to touch his thumbs to the wall above him. Good. He can get there, which indicates he has good scapulothoracic mobility. The next assessment is going to look at cervical rotation and flexion. So what you're going to do, you're going to have their client he's going to place his right hand underneath his butt on the chair. From there, the opposite side of that arm, I'm going to have him look as far as he can to his left. From this position, he's going to tuck his chin and try to touch his shoulder. You can see here, good. He gets down to that position. So he's got pretty good rotation and flexion on that side. You want to make sure to do this test on both sides, though. That way we can see if there is a deficit from one side to the other. For this assessment, we're going to be looking at thoracic rotation. So you're going to have your client sit down on a chair or on a bench or whatever surface you have. You're gonna need either a PVC pipe or a broom. In this case, we're using a lacrosse stick. A golf club would also work for this purpose, but some kind of thin stick, and they're gonna place that the stick on their back as if in a back squat position. From here, all you're gonna have your client do is just rotate as far as they can. Good, you wanna take note of the position there, come back to center, then we'll do the other side as well. You wanna see them getting to at least 60 degrees. 60 degrees is a good passing score here. This is another good one that if you have the potential to take photos of their end range from above, you can keep track of this over time to see how this mobility improves. For this assessment, we're gonna be checking hamstring flexibility. So again, you're gonna need some kind of dowel, whether it's a PVC pipe, again, a lacrosse stick, a broom, or a golf club. Any of those will suffice. You're gonna have your client hold it just how you can see pictured here with the dowel of choice stuck to their back. We want to keep that there through the whole range of motion. You're going to have them stand with their feet slightly about shoulder width apart, knees are just slightly bent, and they're going to perform essentially an RDL from here. So go ahead. I'm going to have them go until they feel tightness in their hamstrings. Good. I'm going to have you do one more rep for me. As they go down, you want to take note of their end range position, which he's pretty good here. He's parallel to the ground, but also what their low back is doing. So I'll give you a better angle from here. We see his low back isn't kicking in too much. Oftentimes, if hamstrings are very stiff, you'll see a rounding at the low back, and that dowel will begin to leave contact with the back. The last assessment we're gonna do, again, you're gonna need a PVC pipe, a broomstick, lacrosse stick, or golf club. We're gonna do a PVC overhead squat. This is an assessment that I really like doing with athletes because it allows you to see several joints in motion, performing, a squat movement pattern, which is something that we'll commonly see in the weight room. So it's important to know what those joints look like when they're moving. To set up for this, you're gonna have them put the dowel on their back as if in a back squat position, and we wanna get their elbows at about 90 degrees or just a little bit wider. From there, they're just gonna press straight up, and this is our starting position. All you're gonna have your client do from here is just squat straight down. As they squat, you wanna take note of a number of things. We want to look at the ankles. We wanna see if the client's able to, if they're able to press their knees out over their toes on this. We want to take note of the hips and the thoracic spine. So it's obvious to tell from here already that he has some tightness in his thoracic spine and chest area. If you'll turn to the side, we'll be able to see that just a little bit better here. Ideally, we want the PVC pipe to stay behind the ears on this movement. As you can see, his arms are substantially in front of his head. As far as his hips and his ankles, though, we look pretty good for the most part. So again, this is just a movement that exposes several different areas of the body through a movement pattern that's very common in the weight room.